Hello again. Today we've got a little subject matter we wanted to discuss about a conversation we had with an atheist, and also I wanted to, issue an apology. We've been trying to work on our disfellowshipping videos, and we cracked into that. And we started creating some of those videos and looking at the information. And I don't know what to say. I get pretty animated about things and worked up, and it affected me again. And just like that, I had the heart pain come back pretty intense. And then it's like I had this pain in the left side of the back of my brain, and it was like I was having an aneurysm or something. Don't give yourself an aneurysm. Um, anyway, it was like, okay, and we stayed up till like midnight doing the research on this, on some of these things. So I think it all that just weighed in on me, and I just had to quit. I just had to stop. So it took me like 3 days to recover, and my back went out after that too. So anyway, just wanted to say that I had to stop. Sorry for being a wimp, but it was just absolutely triggering. Like I said, I had that pain that hit me on the right side. Took three days to go away. Left side, excuse me. And then that's like three sharp pains in the back of my brain. I was like, man, that stress will knock you out. Anyway, so I just said to Tiff, I've got to quit. I just got to stop.
Yeah. So I guess I just tried to organize things behind the scene, just so that way Chad could just sort of take a break and self-care and do whatever he needed to do to just get his mind off of all the details, all the paperwork, all the things, text messages, whatever. And the last couple of weeks also, we both had Surface Pro tablets when we were in the congregation, because everything went digital. And within the year, they both died. And so I still had information on my Surface that I wanted to get off. So I was sort of waiting for tools to come in the mail and different things so I could break them apart and get my hard drive out. But just that, going through calendars, so that way it can just all flow and be cohesive when we start this process. And I think that it almost feels like I'm making a report for something. And I kind of have that organizing personality in some ways anyways. So it doesn't stress me out as much to do that kind of work.
So hopefully we'll be back at that shortly. I know that when she was talking to me, she's like, you just got to put yourself in a third person. And
Yeah.
we tell each other that, but as soon as you get in the moment, boy, it's hard to do. But hopefully we'll be back at that shortly. And if we just go through it piece by piece and just take on what we can and then release what we can. And we decided the way we're going to do it is we're going to go through our entire background and all the things we've went through that are kind of highlighted that bring out the background of that we've dealt with witnesses and the elders and all that stuff, because it all goes into play, and also goes to the build-up, because we were disfellowshipped in such a weird way. It's not as simple as you went and stole from the store or something, because there's really no basis for it. In fact, when we were disfellowshipped because they kept saying to us, yes, but do you see how they feel? So really we were disfellowshipped on how some other people feel, and that may sound weird, but
It is weird. It is weird.
when you hear it, at least you'll understand what we mean in that regard.
Yeah. And I think the other part of the dynamic of our disfellowshipping is the fact that, like Chad brought out a situation, if somebody just goes and steals something from the store and maybe there's a confession or you're caught, your disfellowship, you have a meeting. It's typically a quite short meeting, and then you're disfellowshipped within the week or two, and then that person can either choose to repent and come back to the organization, or they just leave and go into whatever lifestyle they want to go into. Well, for us, from the time we had our disfellowshipping, it started in August. Our judicial meeting was in August, but our announcement wasn't until November. So there was a lot of time sort of spent doing different meetings. There was an appeal meeting, but it was a lot of idle time waiting for the branch to finally make their final decision.
Yeah.
So that also adds another dynamic to our situation.
So I guess the point in saying all that is that, and that apology is to let you guys as viewers know that we know firsthand how all of this triggering can be. It reminds me of a brother down in Grafton who had a situation he was dealing with the elders. And I went down to him, and he would say, I was trying to encourage him to come to meetings, and he'd say, anytime I walk into the place, I just get sick. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what he meant. I thought, it can be, sickening, and that, sort of like a spiritual sense, or, you make me sick. I believe what he was telling me is it makes him have a physical reaction. Mm-hmm. And now I can understand that. I'll get a twinge in my chest. Now it's a physical reaction that I get. So I guess what we're saying is that we understand how triggering all of this can be.
Yeah. And I think reactions, everybody reacts differently to different situations. So we won't say we know exactly what you as an individual go through in dealing with a specific trigger. But and even between Chad and I, we're triggered by different things, and we react differently with different things. So
True.
Everybody is different.
And we, even in that regard, we know that the Bible itself is triggering for some of you. And quite honestly, it is for us too. As we've said, we have not sat down and just done like a Bible reading. We use the Bible a lot, and we discuss a lot. We do all sorts of scriptural research. Mm-hmm. But as far as sitting down and reading the Bible in order, that in fact can be triggering for us, because we see so many things that just flash up that they're doing, and remembering things that they were doing, as opposed to when we're doing specific research. It's more like taking a specific subject matter and applying the Bible to something that they're doing wrong and bringing that out. And all that triggering, though, and having that manipulation of the Bible into a weapon is what makes all that happen for us, that triggering.
Yeah. I just recently listened to a TED Talk. I don't know if you listen to TED Talk, but this one specifically was talking about relationships, particularly relationships between a child and then when they're like in their formulating years or whatever. And if they have been given a good relationship with parents or different people versus a bad one, there's like trust issues and things like that. And then when you're wronged by those specific people, it creates like an unsafe place. And so I guess I'm linking that with Watchtower, because when you're told that this is a safe place and then they treat you poorly, or they've used the Bible as a weapon, religion is used as a weapon in that way. That relationship with Watchtower, or that relationship with God, and that includes the Bible, now becomes an unsafe place. And so then you just really cut that whole relationship off, because that is like the easiest thing for you to do to get away from that relationship.
Right. But for us, a lot of times we'll recognize the Bible, that it actually speaks against what they're doing in so many cases. As the scripture says, it's a double-edged sword, so you may swing it one way, and that's a great thing about a two-edged axe. I always tell the story about how my grandpa stuck a double-edged axe into the tree, and when he bent down to pick up the wood, it fell off and hacked him in the shoulder on the other side, because it's a two-edged sword. So you could take a swing, and if you hit a hard object, it'll come back and cut you. And I really feel that way about the Bible. It really does come back, and it will slice them. And quite honestly, that is the absolute best weapon to use against Watchtower, because if you turn atheist, or you don't use the Bible, and you just use some sort of, as they would say, worldly wisdom or human reasoning, they will just write it off. And you can do that with simple words. If you say the word magic, automatically they've deflected that. If you say the word lucky, they'll automatically mentally start to deflect that. So you have to be aware of those, what you would call trigger words for them, that they don't use. As the scripture says, to use what's upbuilding to everyone. You have to consider your subject matter and audience. The person you're telling it, the audience you're talking to. These all go into, quite honestly, they're Watchtower teachings that come from the scriptures. So when you're using the Bible in that way, instead of being able to deflect them, it does. The Bible, it just pierces right to their core, as the scripture says.
Yeah, and we've taken some flack from some atheist viewers because of that.
But in reality, we're attacked from all angles. I mean,
Yeah.
active JWs attack us because we're highlighting Watchtower abuses. People from Christendom will attack us because we don't accept their general, or Catholic, because that's what general means, Catholic general beliefs that we've turned away from long ago, from Christendom. And we get flack from atheists because we continue to have any belief at all in the Bible. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today here. And I have to say that normally we wouldn't even bring this out, but these were comments on YouTube and they were deleted, which to me is just a little bit disingenuous. And I don't have anything against this guy. In fact, we don't have anything against atheists in general. And in reality, we feel that just is a reactionary measure in many cases. And I'm not saying they're ignorant. I'm not saying that, oh, they're, childish or whatever. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that a lot of times the visceral reaction to the abuse they've gotten is exactly what Jesus talked about when he says, you make them twice as liable to Gehenna themselves. Yes, that can be taken as a twofold thing. One, in that they were teaching something true. The other, in so many of their additions and the things they tacked on to the Bible made it burdensome and turned people away from biblical values or general truisms that are in the Bible. So to us, we don't blame atheists near as just like Jesus didn't blame the woman at the well, who was, let's face it, she was an apostate. He didn't blame those people. He blamed the religious leaders of the day. And it's quite clear when you read through and you take the Bible as a whole. So we don't hold anything against atheists, but still, it's a bit disingenuous to delete all of the comments that you've had when you're talking about a subject matter.
Yeah, especially since so many people that are watching these videos, not just our videos, but just all videos that are having to deal with exJW, whatever videos they are. These people are in a state of confusion. They're looking for a reality because the reality that they had before now is not the reality because they've been lied to. So now,
disillusioned, yeah.
Yeah, so now they're trying to get some new reality, some truth, something that makes sense. And so then a lot of times they're not only watching the videos, but even a lot of times when we have a video out, we'll have multiple comments from the same person. As they're watching the video, they're leaving comments as far as like timestamps are going down the line. And so there's like a conversation you can sort of follow along with the video. Well, if that person just deletes the thread or just deletes it, then the other people that are looking at those comments can't read those comments. So it's like almost in a network in itself because you can read those conversations that you're having with a person. And those conversations may or may not be helpful to a person. Yeah. But at least they're there.
And especially, and especially, go into that, and you're right, because timestamps and all that, but also it can be a conversation that's between us or between other people who disagree on something that's said, either in our video. Because when we put our video out, guess what? All you're getting is our side of it. Mm-hmm. That's it. And that's important when you're talking about videos because you're not following that person, though they may say something that appeals to you or, more importantly, appeals to truth, we hope. But at the same time, you're only going to get maybe our vantage point on it. And that's with every video that you have. People talk about, and we'll go into this as we go into this video too, people will talk about, what do they call that? Confirmed bias. Well, we all have confirmed bias. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias. We all have a measure of confirmation bias. And if we don't acknowledge that, then we're really not looking at it balanced in the first place. So as those conversations go on and you have a debate even, a discussion about a subject matter that's back and forth, that helps the reader to discern, I never thought about that, or maybe I did think about that, and this answers that question, and it helps me choose what I'm going to believe going forward. And when you delete that, like I said, it's a little bit disingenuous because it steals that from them, and it's almost hiding who you are and what you put out there.
Mm-hmm. So we don't delete our comments. We don't delete our threads. If, like we've mentioned in other videos, the ones that get deleted, if there's like a sexual connotation to it, or if it's like crazy amount of cussing or something like that, those are inappropriate. We're not going to we're not going to tolerate that. But, we don't have a problem with differing viewpoints or differing sides or whatever. Those can just stay right there. They're totally fine where they are. So everybody can read whatever somebody wants to say. There's no censorship when it comes to things like that. Just say
We're
what
not
you want.
Watchtower.
Just say what you want. If it gets out of hand, like I said, with sex or profanity, those will be deleted.
But that goes to, if we make an error, we try to be very thoughtful
Yeah.
about what it is that we put out there. So even if I'm making a statement that I'm attacking someone, I've had people say that, or they feel I'm attacking them, and I'm saying I'm not attacking them. I may be attacking a personality trait. Don't get too high on calling me out on that. If Jesus said to the Pharisees, "You're offspring of serpents," so I'm not saying that I would say that to someone, but the reality being that Jesus got firm and, struck a chord with somebody. So if I call somebody out on being a certain personality trait or displaying a certain personality trait, they can either correct me or I can defend it. Or if I make a statement that's incorrect, I can either clarify it, and all of that should be in there. And that's the same with editing. You can edit, but it shouldn't be a major to change your narrative because you got corrected. So what we put out there, we put out there. If somebody has a different viewpoint, that's a discussion, and that helps somebody else. So we try not to play that keyboard courage game, I think you called it.
Yeah. You just say whatever you want and be rude about it and attack the person. And then at the very last, you may or may not delete it. And then there's no receipt, there's no evidence.
Yeah, and so that's, as I said, it's just a little bit disingenuous to me. So we'll go forward here with that conversation we had with an atheist, again, because we usually discuss a lot of the comments we have together before they're posted. And I should say that we had to recreate this because we didn't comment through our Gmail. That's the other thing. Don't think you can delete the comments. If you put it out there, it's sent straight to my email. Every comment you make gets sent straight to my email, whether you delete it or not. I say my email, our
the
email,
vlog email.
the unassigned vlog.
Yeah.
So don't think that you can delete it. If I comment, though, through YouTube on your thread, you can delete that, and I won't get my emails or my comments back. But if we comment through our Gmail, then we have a record of both sides. And oftentimes that's what we'll do. I mean, if you're commenting on Swiffer, we're just going to comment on YouTube because we don't care. And odds are it aren't going to get deleted. Not any big deal if it did anyways. Likewise, if it's some, light subject matter. But if it starts getting or looking like it's going to get involved or attacking, usually we'll go straight over to the unassigned vlog and comment through our email. Then we have a record of both sides. Didn't do this on this one. Our mistake. Didn't think it was necessarily going to go this way. It got deleted, so we had to reconstruct this. Good thing that YouTube is pretty much short comments, and you can usually do a pretty good job of reconstructing it. If this individual would like to either contact us, I don't care, you can do it through YouTube. If you want to remain anonymous, just send it to unassigned vlog. We'll correct our statements, any small errors we may have made in those, and we will put that in the description because we can edit the description anytime after a video is posted. Obviously, you can't edit a video once it's up. You either have to reshoot the video and do it all over again, or you can just make comments in the description, which we would do. We'll add the exact responses. So his responses will be exact, his comments. Ours are reconstructed. So let's go ahead and carry on in that light. So I'll pull them up here. And we'll do this again as we always do. Tiffany will read the other person's comments. I'll read ours.
Do I have to say what's an asterisk?
No, we'll yeah, you can say that because it emphasizes the point of attack. So first thing we're going to do, how we're going to go through this, we're just going to read it straight out. Then we're going to go back and read it with our thoughts.
Okay. Am I right in thinking you guys still believe in God? If so, why? Why are Americans so slow to wake up to this shit? Weird.
Of course, what one chooses to believe is up to them. But we think it's weird how someone can look at the lifeless vast expanse, zoom it back to the comparative speck of the earth packed with life, and not believe in God.
You assume space is full of lifeless matter. You could remove the Bible and every decent part would exist in other books, which it does now anyway. Morals are not reliant on the Bible.
Last we checked, they still haven't found any life out there, in parentheses. Not that it would prove anything if they did, end parentheses. So we're not sure what that has to do with anything, in parentheses. Distraction, perhaps, end parentheses. The Bible is older, period. Are you kidding? Have you seen some of the laws based on their, quote, morals?
Bible is older than what? The earth is millions of years old and mankind is thousands of years old. The Bible is a recent book made up of stories and retelling of other books like Gilgamesh. Sorry if you don't know this. You are a long way from waking up. You are doing exJW videos, yet you are miles away from where you may get to. I hope you do. I wish you well. Cheers. Keep it up. I enjoy the videos.
Not sure what the age of the earth has to do with anything, in parentheses. Another distraction, perhaps, end parentheses. You mean the tablets that tell many similar stories of the Bible that are the written record of the oral transmission of previous generations? We are sorry you are not secure enough in your beliefs that you have to attack us. Perhaps you can consider being less condescending before getting to know the people you are speaking to. Just because we don't accept the same narrative as you do doesn't mean we're ignorant.
You live your life based on made-up dates and events and characters from a fictional book. I don't. There is a big difference. Religious people have a long way to go to get free. You are in that camp. It's sad to see. All the best.
We live our life based on principles of recorded events of human caricature that haven't changed in thousands of years. The success of our life, in parentheses, righteousness being proved in its works, end parentheses, as compared to the consequences from both our own and others, freedom from Bible principles, is enough to lay bare your claim for us. If that's a clamp, we'll take it.
So do you believe in God or not?
We already answered that question.
Just waffled on. It's a simple question. So by your lack of question, I'll assume you believe in God and the Bible after exiting the JW cult, and reiterate that I find it sad. It also continues the misleading of others if you state these lies in public. Those that exit the cult need support away from the Bible beliefs and belief in sky daddies to finally achieve mental freedom.
We clearly answered your question in our first reply. If you cannot see that, perhaps you were too blinded by your own agenda to attack us, as has become apparent. If you didn't feel our reply was clear, we have more than enough videos out there that you could watch to clarify. If you knew anything about us, you would know we've experienced much abuse from those in their mental freedom. We're sorry you are not secure enough in your freedom that you feel you must attack our being free of that freedom of biblical principles. The fact is, the Bible is the most powerful response of validation against Watchtower abuses.
It was vague. You like to use a lot of words, which is fine. Anyway, enjoy your Christian life. Cheers.
Not sure how the answer was vague, but then to say, you use a lot of words? As they say, damned if you do and damned if you don't. Thank you. Take care. So that's the whole conversation, the thread that was deleted. Again, with ours reconstructed, but the general idea, we believe, comes through fairly well. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to read back through and give us our thoughts on this. Because it's kind of telling. The thing you have to realize about conversations is there's always, as they say, confirmation bias and an angle. So I think if we just read through that, we can comment on that as we go. So Tiffany, you want to read his again as we go through?
Am I right in thinking you guys still believe in God? If so, why? Why are Americans so slow to wake up to this shit? Weird.
So right off the bat, it wasn't, if it had just ended it with, you guys still believe in God? If so, why? That would have been kind of a question and looking to see how the other person views things. But to add, why are Americans so slow to wake up to this shit? And then state that that's weird, that's an attack. So right now I can already tell where you're coming. We can already see that you're not just out to learn more about us and our stance or why we feel the way we do. So when in us responding, of course one chooses to believe what they want. We recognize that he has his right to believe. But at the same time, since you called us weird, when you zoom it back from all the lifeless matter that's out there and come back to the earth packed with life, to us, that sort of blows out any arguments. And not that there can't be a discussion about atheism versus creation. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that reveals the confirmation bias that both sides have. So the point there is not to trail off on some nuance of whether or not there's life in the universe, because that's not the point at all. The point that I'm getting to is that whether you believe in a Big Bang theory or whether you believe whatever it is, where did all this come from? Everything out there versus a tiny little spot with life, however you believe that came about, let's just use that Big Bang theory or the massive expansion theory or whatever thing you want to put out there. It doesn't matter. Where did all this stuff come from? Even if it came from an infinitesimally, super black hole, infinite tiny little mass, and if Einstein's theory is correct of E equals mc squared, in other words, energy, basically mass times the speed of light square, they're equal to each other, meaning that it could all come about from energy. However you want to get into that scientific debate, where did it all begin? Was it a matter of, from that infinitesimal little point, is it creation or is it some random act? That reveals which way your confirmation bias is going to be. For us, we look at all that and we recognize our confirmation bias comes from kind of the scripture or thought that, hey, look at all these things. Every house is created by someone. Who created all this? Or how did it come about? Whereas the Bible correctly identifies those who feel the other way. All their thoughts are, there is no God. So that reveals the confirmation bias there. Yeah, you can argue all the little points in between and all the, if you want to debate evolution or anything like that, you can debate all those things all day long. But your confirmation bias comes back to that finite point for us. Mm-hmm. So that's where we get our statement and response. Of course, what one chooses to believe is up to them. We think it's weird how someone can look at the vast expanse that's lifeless and then zoom it back to the comparative speck of earth packed with life and not believe in God. That to us is weird. It's just the difference of a viewpoint there. So go ahead, Tiff.
Then he goes on, you assume space is full of lifeless matter. You could remove the Bible and every decent part would exist in other books, which it does now anyway. Morals are not reliant on the Bible.
So the response we have here, the last we checked, they still hadn't found any life in there. One addresses that nuance. And then two, we add in parentheses, not that would prove anything if they did. That's not what we were trying to do. We're not trying to run down some other straw man argument. That's not what wasn't the point of our argument. And a straw man argument, in case you don't know, it's when you draw out some nuances of what somebody says, just one point, and then you create an argument based on that straw man that you've created. So in other words, or you can even twist something, or even not mention something they said. You could pull something out of. So instead of looking at what they're talking about, and it can happen either on purpose or on accident, they pull out that one little part, set it up there as a straw man, and then they argue against that point as opposed to the general statement that you had. So that's what a straw man argument is. And that's what's being done here because it's not addressing what we talked about, which is the big picture. The vast expanse versus all that life, the big picture. And perhaps we could have been more specific. So like I said, it may be done on purpose sometimes, other times just accidental. In either case, as we said, so we're not sure what that has to do with anything, except for perhaps being a distraction to the point of when you look at all this, do you see God or do you see no God? That's your confirmation bias one way or the other. His next statement about the Bible exists in all these other books. We wouldn't debate that. That's like saying there's truth in all religion. But, that's not a debatable point. The point would be how much falsehood would be in religion. That's what the nuances that one would discuss. So by our statement is the Bible is older. In other words, I'll leave it at that because that develops farther. But his statement as far as morals are not reliant on the Bible, are you kidding? Our statement is, have you seen some of the laws based on their morals? And you can just go into some of the conflicts. If you commit murder on a woman that's pregnant, it's a double murder. Yet it's not murder if you abort the baby. How can it be both ways? So that's without even taking a stand on abortion or not abortion. It's just, it conflicts with one another. So, and maybe one wants to take the argument, and maybe I even shouldn't have brung that up because somebody's going to say, oh yeah, but it's the woman's choice. And if she wants to have the baby, well, then it's a murder. And if she wants to kill the baby, well, then that's her choice to, do away with it. I'm not trying to debate abortion. I'm just saying it conflicts with one another.
What laws on the books really are.
And there's so many laws out there that we could go into that I'm sure nobody agrees with all of the laws out there and their morals. And what's moral by definition, by the way, if you look it up, it's whatever society deems as a whole. So if you've got a twisted society, the morals are going to be what? Twisted. That's why I always say we talk about this in this country. Of the people, by the people, for the people. It says, in God we trust, but if most of the people become atheists, which way are their beliefs going to go? In God we trust? No, they're going to go the way most of the people go, which is through atheism. So the point is that morals are going to be different, depend on, are they God's morals or are they man's morals? So, and some of the things you can look at in the laws that are made, they're just ridiculous and they don't follow any morality or a twisted morality. And most people would recognize that in one way or another.
The Bible is older than what? The earth is millions of years old, and mankind is thousands of years old. The Bible is a recent book made up of stories and retelling of the other books like Gilgamesh. Sorry if you don't know this. You are a long way from waking up. You are doing exJW videos, yet you are miles away from where you may get to. I hope you do. I wish you well. Cheers. Keep it up. I enjoy the videos.
So again, this we have another squirt out. So we were at creation at first and just looking at the big picture or looking at the earth and the universe. And then we squirt out of that corner because we feel like we're getting pinned in or maybe on a subject matter, and we squirt over here and then we talk about morals and we feel like we're pinned in, though, yeah, we don't have a response for that because we all can find laws that we think are immoral no matter what our stand is. And we squirt out of that, and now we are on to the earth is millions of years old and the mankind is thousands of years old. Again, he's creating a straw man based on something where he has no idea what our beliefs are in that regard. So that's why our response is not sure what the age of the earth has to do with anything. Another distraction, perhaps? You mean, talking about Gilgamesh, you mean the tablets that tell many similar stories of the Bible that are written record of the oral transmission of the previous generations? I'm not talking about the Bible book being physically older. I'm talking about the Bible telling and drawing back on the oral transmission of the recorded record, because some cultures don't record anything. Writing down didn't happen right off the bat. It had to be developed over time. So many times what was told about what your grandparents did or great-grandparents did or whatever else was handed down through an oral transmission. So you didn't have all the distractions that we've got today, so there was lots of time to be able to recount those and pass them down through oral. Finally, somebody wrote them all down, and it stretches back farther than the stories. For example, the Epic of Gilgamesh relates. And some of those are the same. It recounts the flood, for example. There's all sorts of different things that are similar in those. But the Bible reaches back farther in its history. So then we go on to state that we're sorry that they're not secure enough in their beliefs that they have to attack us, because that's exactly what's going on here. This has nothing to do with trying to learn what it is we believe. As the attack on the age of the earth, he thinks we believe the earth actually came about in 24-hour period. I have no idea what he believes in that regard as far as what we believe.
He
But
thinks we believe.
yeah, right.
What he thinks we believe. Yeah.
So instead of trying to figure out what it is we believe on a certain subject matter, it's all about trying to stab us with disprove us on different points that are really straw men because we haven't said anything in that regard. And often we don't, because our channel's not about debating that. If you ask us what we believe, what does that got to do with what you believe? If you want me to share a certain subject matter or discuss a subject matter, I have no problem with doing that. She has no problem with doing that. We have no problem with doing that. But why attack one another on our channel? I don't go on somebody else's channel and attack what they say. What we say on our channel, I hate to use that word.
Platform.
Yeah, platform is what we choose to talk about.
Yeah, but Hezekiah 31:4 says that chat is stupid.
Well, that's not debatable. We know that. So it seems that there's a certain amount of insecurity to go on somebody's else's videos and try to tear them down. Now, if you want to bring out something that's in the video and discuss that certain subject matter, well, what would you say about this scripture? Or it seems like you're missing this point, or whatever, and we can have that discussion. That would be fine. But just to go out and start poking holes, the flavor did not feel right. And a lot of times you get the sense of that through a discussion. So that statement that we make about them being less condescending before they get to know us, here they're speaking of things like this, like the age of the earth, like they already know what we believe. We haven't even talked anything about that. I don't believe in any of our videos. So it's just being condescending towards us in that statement of, you're a long way from waking up, which is why we don't even ascribe to the wake up movement, because it's not just, waking up to the abuses of Watchtower. To a lot of the people, and indeed atheists, you are not awake so they've already created this narrative of you're not awake until you accept everything they believe. And people of Christendom will do the exact same thing. Until you accept everything they believe, you're not awake. You're not really awake. You haven't awake. So we don't even ascribe to that. It becomes a stereotypical definition to something that we don't even ascribe to. They've already created a definition in their own mind, so we don't use it. We don't use that, ascribe to that movement, if you will. So just being condescending to someone because we don't accept the same narrative, that's what we mean by that, is that just because we don't accept the same narrative, don't just assume somebody's ignorant because they draw a different conclusion than you. You can have an intelligent discussion and be on opposite sides of the stance. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yep.
So again, we're going to change gears.
You live your life based on made-up dates and events and characters from a fictional book. I don't. There is a big difference. Religious people have a long way to get free. You are in that camp. It's sad to see all the best.
So again, the statement that we live on a life made up of made-up dates and events and characters from a fictional book. One, if the Epic of Gilgamesh is a real document, historical document, I'm sorry, the Bible is too. In fact, a lot of it is a chronological, book. It talks about, for example, the kings that ruled. If you believe they're all just made up and they never existed and Jesus Christ never was a real person even, I don't know what to tell you. You can do your own research on that. But the idea is that we live our life based on that, that's off. Again, it has nothing to do with us as people. It's not like whether or not a certain king ruled at a certain time plays into how I live my life. I don't even understand where he's coming from there. That's why we made that response. We live our life based on principles of recorded events of human caricature. So in other words, there are things in the Bible, and human caricature hasn't changed in thousands of years. Mm-hmm. It's basically the same people that were back then or back now. We've got technology and we've got different social structures and things of that nature. But human caricatures, it's amazing how you can relate to some of those things still. And you can see errors that were made, and you can see how things turned out successfully for different people. And in saying caricature, we realize that it's just a sketch, an exaggerated sketch. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is just a general pencil drawing of how human characteristics are. So don't beat us up too hard on that word. But the success of our life and righteousness is being proved in its works. We have a good marriage. We have a good work ethic. What other moral or biblical characteristics, principles we apply in our life that turn out success in our life? So that's what we live our life by, not by dates and whatever else that are made up in a, some sort of a historical order. True, you can learn some things from those things, but that's not what we live our life by, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Really, it's about lessons that you learn from those accounts, not those specific accounts of when they happened
Right.
in time.
And sometimes you can learn those from your neighbor. Sometimes you can learn them from yourself.
Yeah.
Your own mistakes, your own successes. But if you can read them in the Bible beforehand and not experience them, all the better. So is he right in saying, yes, you can find that in other books? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But then you can also find some things that are not right or don't turn out well that are written in other books. And again, as we go through this, we state, as compared to the consequences from both our own and others, freedom from the Bible, from Bible principles, that lay bears a claim. We're both, from our own experiences and from what others have done to us, we can see that their freedom from biblical, or our own freedom from biblical principles, has caused us harm. And that's why it was a misunderstanding on our part. We said, if that's a clamp, we'll take it, because we thought he meant, and we even remember this looking back, we thought he meant when he said, you are in that camp, we thought he meant clamp, as if comparing freedom from the Bible being a clamp. That's just a misunderstanding of the reading that we had on there. So really that part is our error.
Mm-hmm. So then he makes the statement in the form of a question, so do you believe in God or not?
And we already answered that question. You go back to that first statement. He said it's weird to believe in God. We drew out the picture of the vast expanse and the earth, and we find it weird that someone doesn't believe in God.
Then he says, just waffled on. It's a simple question. So by your lack of question, I'll assume you believe in God and the Bible after exiting the JW cult, and reiterate that I find it sad. It also continues the misleading of others if you state these lies in public. Those that exit the cult need support away from Bible beliefs and belief in sky daddies to finally achieve mental freedom.
Again, we clearly respond. We clearly answered your question in the first reply. So he says it's vague. I don't know how that's vague. I really don't. Unless, like we said, you're just out to attack us. Too blinded by you're out to attack us. And, Jesus recognized this spirit in people too, right off the bat. It said he could read hearts even, so he can do it better than we can. And I always like to use the illustration of I can't read hearts any more than I can read what's on a computer hard drive, but I can see what flashes up in the screen from time to time. And by what we saw flashing up in the screen in his first question, he wasn't out just to get to know us. He was out to attack. So when Jesus recognized that, what did he do? He was a little more adroit in what he said. He kind of turned the tables a little bit. And oftentimes, that left the Pharisees, for example, tongue-tied. So just turning it on and just saying, hey, well, you think it's weird we believe in God. We think it's weird that you see the vast, creation and the big picture of things and say there is no God. We find that weird. And our next statement is, if you really had an earnest question as far as what we believed, I'm pretty sure we've got enough videos out there. You can go check it out and find out what we actually believe. It's pretty clear. And he can say, that he finds it sad. I would find it sad that he has written off God. But that's his decision, And a lot of times saying things like that is just a form of manipulation. Instead of discussing a certain fact, if I speak to you in a condescending way, then it might manipulate your mind a little bit to say, that, oh man, he pities me. Well, I'm not to be pitied. I need to wake up then. It's just a way of manipulating. And then he goes on to talk about how it's misleading others if you state these lies in public. So is it misleading to delete the conversations you have with someone that discuss a subject matter in public? I guess that's what we would ask. And the reality being, we have, again, we speak about, we've experienced much abuse from those in their mental freedom away from the Bible, so to speak. And so then we go on to a sort of play on words that we're sorry that you're not secure enough in your freedom, because if he's supposedly free, why would he be attacking us if he's secure in that? In where we say we're free, because the truth sets you free, biblical truth sets you free, it sets you free from sin or errors, it sets you free from mistakes. And that's even with witnesses. We hate the fact that they bring out and they make the Bible into this non-practical book.
Mystical.
Yeah,
It sounds mystical.
created this mystical illusion around it, as opposed to, no, these are beneficial, practical things that if you implement in your life, you're going to have success and freedom from sin or mistakes.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on that. I've been pretty quiet just so he could go on a run, but usually people that are free mentally or free in any type of way are practicing with love and kindness and trying to draw that person so that way they can experience, the other person can experience that sort of mental freedom that he's talking about. And I don't feel, and I'm not trying to be in an attack mode the other way, but I don't feel this person was trying to draw me out in a loving, kind way as far as being mentally free. Like a lot of different types of thinking or a lot of different types of belief systems, it's all about kindness and love, and the human race needs to come together as far as a equality or something like that. And I don't feel that way at all.
Right. To me, I feel somebody that's triggered, and whether or not they truly believe in atheism and they've done all that research, I'm not going to attack them as they attacked us and pretend that. But I see somebody who's bouncing around in subject matters is what I see, and is really even triggered by the idea of even considering a God. Whether they've researched that and feel there is no God or not, I'm not going to make any accusations there. But to attack us because we are, again, free of the mistakes that come along with freedom from biblical principles, and a lot of times, and we've experienced in our life and from the abuses that we've got from other people who are free from the Bible. So that was just kind of a pun and a back and forth on those statements. But again, the fact that the Bible is the most powerful response of vindication against witness abuses is absolutely true. So for him to say that belief in sky daddies or whatever he wants to put there, or you need to have no belief in the Bible, that doesn't necessarily help me respond to the abuses that I've gotten. And it definitely doesn't strike anybody in Watchtower. You can pull out an atheist sword all day long against Watchtower, and they will deflect it every time with their shield of faith. Whereas the sword, the double-edged sword of the Spirit, which is God's word, will pierce through that shield every time and stab them to the heart. And that's what Jesus used against the Pharisees every time. And often, people don't realize that Jesus was not speaking from what he knew and understood. He was oftentimes speaking with what his listener knew and understood and turning it back upon them, if you're really paying attention to how he did things. He was very masterful at using what someone else's own beliefs were against them. And that goes right along with Proverbs, I think it's 25, 25, 25, 25, and 25,
We'll
26.
post it.
Yeah, whatever it is, we'll post it. Okay, go ahead.
It was vague. You like to use a lot of words, which is fine. Anyway, enjoy your Christian life. Cheers.
So, again, we respond. We're not sure how that answer is vague. It's pretty clear if you're not on attack mode that we believe in a God. But then to say that we use a lot of words, at the same time saying it was vague. Damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, So you can't have it both ways. As Jesus said, about the children playing in the street, we danced for you, we mourned, and yet still it's not enough either way. But he says, enjoy your Christian life, to which we would say, thank you. And you take care of yourself too. So we don't have anything against this individual. We don't like the fact that the comments were deleted. If you delete them and we feel it's pertinent, this is what will happen. So just know that if we feel it's pertinent, they don't get deleted. We'll get them out there for everybody to see the conversation. You can respectfully have your own opinion. You can respectfully have your own discussion and share it with us. But if you delete it, this may happen. Just know that. So anything you want to add in closing?
No, and he said, he liked watching our videos, and we appreciate it. We like all types of ideas and all types of people to watch our channel, our platform, whatever. And if you choose not to, fine. We don't carry that way either,
right.
But like I said, we are not a censoring type of people. We are not a judgmental type of people here.
And we encourage those comments. We think a variance of discussion is, what they say, variety is a spice of life. And that's the one thing and Paul didn't hate that. Paul walked into, where did he walk into? The Areopagus, where there's all sorts of different beliefs that you got all these gods. And so they've got, and by the way, God, take it to the literal sense, means just one whom you serve, or powerful one. So, I mean, as I always said before I was into the Bible, my gods were Mustangs. Did I bow down, worship them, and kiss the wheels? No, but I sure did polish them. And I worked on Mustangs, and I drag raced Mustangs on the weekends. And not that I still don't do some of those things, even though there's not a drag track and
no, it's just every highway around here.
Right. But we used to go drag racing even after we were married. We went to the drag track quite often on Friday night street racing. So what I'm saying, though, is that's what I did. It dominated my time. It's the one whom I served. That's what I served. Whereas now it doesn't take precedent over my spiritual life. So, and I don't mean necessarily just going to meetings. I'm talking about if comes a point to where I have to serve something from my own desires or my own will, and it comes into conflict, for example, with my family, what would I choose? Jehovah says, choose what's good for my family. So
it's practical. The Bible is practical.
That's right. The one who causes things to become. In other words, one who causes things to become success. Which scriptures it talks about? Is it Jeremiah that says, oh, if you would just listen to me, your peace would be... Isaiah 48:17. If you'd listen to me, your peace would be like the waves of the sea. So if you apply those things, you'll have success. If my family's hungry and I choose to buy wheels for my Mustang, which God did I put first? So it's more practical.
Yeah, we just don't view the scriptures in a mystical type of way like so many really Christians do. They think that that's some sort of like superpower for them or something. We view them as very practical, and we use them in our life. So like this idea of like sky daddies, like he brings out, like it's just some sort of floating thing, like mysterious. We don't view the scriptures in a mysterious way. They're practical.
Right. And that's not to say that we don't believe in our Father. And from two people coming from an abused background, we'll take it. We'll take that and the guidance that we've got from the Bible and from what we do learn. That's, as they say, wisdom looks in all directions. Even in the Bible, it talks about the Book of the Kings. Those were just a historical record. I'm not afraid to read, the Epic of Gilgamesh. I'm not afraid to read so many different other things to draw knowledge on it. Wisdom looks in all directions. So you can look at that. And I'm not so dogmatic to just take a stand on one thing. I may have my belief, but do I necessarily need to say that your belief doesn't have merit, or that there's nothing practical in that? Or, I think the scripture says it best. And you may find out that you don't know them as you ought to know them. Anything else?
No, I guess not. We're just going to continue to work on our just fellowshipping videos. Hopefully we will put out the first 1 or 2 videos soon. Hopefully we feel good about the videos because because we are getting into some pretty personal things in our life and sharing them with the internet. So,
And we're doing that
yeah,
again because these elders, we were debated that. We thought we should
yeah,
just dive into our letter, but these elders have known us for 10 years or more. They ought to know who we are. And to just dive into our disfellowshipping letter without letting you guys know who we are, where we come from, sort of leaves you behind the curve. And it doesn't really give the same perspective that they should have had as spiritual shepherds.
so I guess we'll just end the video here, and you'll see us in the next video.